Great peace, great peace, great peace. Yakoki. All right, so today I want to talk about because I've never really talked about women, and I want to kind of make this a gender thing, but more so in a way where it's not looked down upon, but kind of like understood, you know. So women. Um, I think like men, we kind of like get a bad rap, given the fact that every other person in the world, like every other man, they get to control what their women see, how their women look. Men in America, we don't get that privilege, right? We don't get that privilege. So, if you're a woman is someone like who is belligerent or she's very disrespectful, she points out every situation as a moment to be irate. Like she doesn't wear clothes that cover up her body. Like she just, she's very lackadaisical when it comes to doing chores around the house. Like if you've seen this, and I know like most American men, right, they've seen this type of behavior, right? Like I look at how, my mother was and how I look at how, you know, the older women were in, her family, right? And the younger women were in her family. They all were different. They all were different, right? The younger woman would be this generation, and her generation would be the women who worked in offices, like one of the first women, right? Then like the older woman in her family would be women like who honored service, like who, kept a husband and stuff like that, those type of things. It's night and day from older women and younger women. It's night and day, right? They're not comparable. So I look at like you know, when you look at women like who want mixed children, it's an opportunity for them to like, see what they couldn't be. You know what I mean? And that's what I see like from my own eyes, right? To the point where like, the way they do their hair, it's almost like they have their own look now, and like their mother try to mimic it, like, oh, it looks good on my mixed daughter. Let me try it. Like you see that type of stuff. And like even with the men, right? The men, they patronize this behavior, out of shame of saying, you know, well, if you don't protect a woman, then you're somehow the problem, you know. This is why, like right now, right, you have diaspora wars on TikTok, like it doesn't matter what live you go to, you're going to see a live where it's African Americans talking about Africans. And you really can't blame Africans for like defending themselves because we all heard the jokes in school. You know what I mean? Like, you're a bummy if you were African. You know what I mean? Like, you weren't important. Um, I know, like, for me, right, when I went to school, there was one particular person, like, who kind of killed that, that vibe, that stereotype. You know what I mean? Like, they kind of put that to rest. Because this sort of person, right, he was able to fit in with everybody. You know what I mean? Like, people didn't look at him like, oh, this person is Nigerian or something like that. He laid that to rest. Like, it was not any of that type of stuff. So, like, I don't know, man. Like, I look at black people in America as a minority. There's not many of these people left, in America. Like, we're all in Africa, right? And then you see it in Africa too, where people are getting mixed out. You know what I mean? Like, they're getting mixed out. They're mixing with the Chinese, the Dutch, the Germans. They're mixing with all these people. the French, they're mixing with them, you know? So if you're one of the ones who procreated with a black woman or procreated with a black man, you all made sure your children look like you. Kudos to you, because you did the right thing. You didn't fall for the trends. You know, you did the right thing. You know, a lot of people just, they didn't do it, you know, and this kind of ends off on this conversation. We're 5 minutes in. You know, it's what Lil Wayne said. He said, people will hear you, but they won't listen to what you're saying. It's two different things, you know. Some people just listen to pick fights. You know, some people listen because they want to learn. Most people, they just listen and they don't hear what you're saying, you know. They don't understand it. And that's the majority of people. And, like, it sucks living in a society like that, you know. But great peace, Yako.